Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Quarantine Videos Part 3. So, as we move on, as we move forward, it's important that we go over kind of step by step what we're going to need. So, we've done 1 and 2 step problems. And the next, we don't call them 3 steps. We call them multi-step. Anything more than 2 step is called a multi-step. So whether that's 3 steps or 17 steps, they're all called multi-step equations. So when we go from 2 steps to multi-step equations, the big difference that we have is the distributive property. Okay? So the distributive property looks like this. And these are the, that's kind of like the formal definition for the distributive property. So go ahead and write that down. So write this down, get it down, and then whoever this sub is filling in today, thank you so much. I really, really, really appreciate it. Go ahead, hit pause. Wait till everyone's written this down. It shouldn't take more than a minute. And then go ahead and hit play. So now that you guys have this down, I want to kind of explain how this works. So to do that, we're going to go super simplistic. So here we have the same problem written down twice. Now, on the left-hand side, we're going to do it, I think, how most people would look at this and do this. 3 plus 2 is 5. So that goes from 4 times 3 plus 2 to 4 times 5. And then we get 20, because 4 times 5 is 20. On the left-hand side, it's a bit more, so we're going to use the distributive property. The distributive property is a property of multiplication. Because if you remember from doing the 2-step problems, when we had a number outside of a parentheses, it was multiplication. So it was 4 times, like x plus 6 or 6 plus x or whatever it might be. So here we have 4 times 3 plus 2. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take that outside number and we're going to multiply it by everything on the inside. So that's 4 times 3 and 4 plus times 2. So to distribute means to kind of hand out evenly. So if there are 7 people in the class and I wanted to distribute $70, don't get too excited. I'm not giving you guys any amount of money. But let's say I wanted to evenly distribute that $70. I would then give each one of you guys $10. So what we're doing is we're taking that number on the outside, that 4, and we're distributing it via multiplication to everything on the inside of the parentheses. So 4 times 3, 12, plus 4 times 2, 8, and we get 12 plus 8 is 20. So notice that you get the same answer, which means they're both an acceptable way to do it. So why do we do distribution? Well, because a lot of times we don't have something simple like 3 plus 2. A lot of times we only have things that are, we have variables or things like that cannot be easily added or subtracted. So we have to distribute. So 6 times x plus 5. Here's an example. We can't add x and 5, so there's no way to kind of simplify what's going on inside the parentheses in order to, like we did in the previous slide and get, 3 plus 2 is 5. We don't know what x plus 5 is because x is a variable. It can vary. It can be anything we say it is. I apparently paused it at some point, and I'm not sure where it was. So we're going to go back to here. If you are the sub, please go ahead and fast forward it to wherever I previously stopped. So here we have 6 times x plus 5. So we're going to do the exact same thing. So that's what I was just talking about, is we don't have the ability to add x and 5 the same way we did the 3 and the 2. So what we need to do is we need to take that 6 and distribute it between everything. So it's going to give us 6x, 6 times x, plus 6 times 5, or 6x plus 30. Okay, well, what if it's a negative 6? Well, when we do this, we need to make sure that we're distributing the entirety of the negative 6. So that's negative 6 times x plus, and this is important, negative 6 times 5. So that gives us negative 6x plus a negative 30, or negative 6x minus 30. Make sure you have that all written down. Okay, moving on. So this is tricky for a lot of people if we just have a negative out front. Keep in mind that what that negative out front means is actually there's a negative 1 out front. Because remember, we're lazy mathematicians, so if we don't need to put down a certain number, we won't. So keep in mind that we don't write down 1s in front of variables. Like right there, that's actually a 1x right there. But because we're lazy mathematicians, we don't write that down. So when you just see a negative out front of a parentheses, keep in mind that's a negative 1. So when we distribute that negative 1. That's negative 1 becomes negative 1 times x becomes negative x minus, and then we have negative 1 times 5, or negative 5. So that becomes negative x plus 5. Make sure everyone has that down, and then get your worksheet out. So this is the new worksheet. It's called Distribution Practice. And what we're going to do is, we're going to practice with distribution. So we're going to take that negative 7, and we're going to distribute it like so. So that gives us negative 7 times p plus negative 7 times 5. And that gives us negative 7p plus a negative 35, or negative 7p minus 35. So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be going through a couple examples. If you look at your worksheet, you'll notice that the first 10 are just basic distribution, and the last 10 are a little bit more complicated. So we're going to go over a couple of the easy ones. We're going to go over a couple of the more difficult ones, and then you guys will be given the rest of the period to work on these on your own, with the knowledge that if you do in fact need help, that the sub will be able to go and kind of fast forward or rewind the video to give you the help you need with a certain problem. So, number 2, we're going to take that negative 4 and we're going to distribute it to 6 and 8r. So that gives us negative 4 times 6 and negative 4 times 8r. Negative 4 times 6 is negative 24. Negative 4 times 8r is negative 32r. So that becomes negative 24 minus 32r. Okay, so now we're going to jump down to 11. So here, notice, so these are, what we're going to be doing is we're going to distribute, and then we're going to combine like terms. So we have that negative 2 there. We're going to distribute it to the negative 2x and the negative 4. So that's negative 2 times negative 2x. And then we bring down that negative. So it's negative times negative 2 times 4. And then we add the plus 10 on the back. So negative 2 times negative 2x. Remember, when we multiply a negative and a negative, we get a positive. So that becomes 4x minus, and then we have negative 2 times 4 is negative 8 plus 10. So that becomes 4x again when we have two negatives. That becomes a positive. So now we have 4x plus 8 plus 10. Now when we combine like terms, what that means is that we can group together like terms. So that becomes 4x plus 18. We cannot add together the 4x and the 18 because they're different terms. Remember, we're combining like terms. When you combine like terms, you can combine normal numbers, integers, fractions, things like that. But if anything has a variable, the variable terms have to be identical, and we'll get more into that later. But here, all we're doing is we're combining integers, regular numbers, and variable terms. And all the variable terms are kind of by their nature, as we'll see in numbers like 16 and stuff like that. Okay, 12, I want to do 2 of each kind, which is good for you guys because it about cuts the number that you have to do in half. So we're going to take that negative 2 and we're going to distribute it. And that's going to give us negative 2 times n plus negative 2 times 5. And then we bring down that negative 6. So we then go ahead and do the multiplication. Negative 2n plus negative 10 minus 6. That gives us negative 2n minus 10 minus 6, which then becomes negative 2n minus 16. Because what I did was I combined my negative 10 and my negative 6 and got negative 16. Okay, so here's number 15. I'm actually going to skip, but if you guys do have trouble with number 16, 15 later, you can come back to this slide. 17. So here, there we go. 17. Here we have 2 things we need to distribute. So we have double the work. We're going to distribute this twice, and then we are going to combine like terms. So we're going to take that 9 and we distribute it there. And then we take that negative 2 and we distribute it there. So that's 9 times 4 plus 9 times 8x. And then remember, we distribute the entire negative 2. So that's negative 2 times x plus negative 2 times 4. So now we've done the distribution. Now we need to do the multiplication. 9 times 4 is 36. 9 times 8 is 72x. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. And negative 2 times 4 is negative 8. I'm not sure what just happened there, but okay. I was having some minor technical difficulties, so apparently it caught up to me. Anyway, and that's a negative 8. So we then have, so now what we need to do is we need to combine like terms. And what that means is we need to put together our integers and we need to put together our variable terms. So what sometimes helps me is to write everything out and move everything around to where everything's together. That way I can go 72x minus 2x gives me 70x, and 36 minus 8 gives me 28. And that would be my answer, 70x plus 28. So that's how those work. You should now have a good idea of how to do each one of those. Hold on. So get going on this. If you get stuck, each of the problems is worked later through in the video. So the sub can just fast forward, rewind that to, whatever problem is being held. So thank you, good job, and good luck. So number 3, we're going to take that 4 and distribute it. That's going to give us 4 times r plus 4 times 3. Whoa! Or 4r plus 12. Number 4, we take that 9 and we distribute it. So that's 9 times 6v plus 9 times 5. Or 54v plus 45. Number 5, what we're going to do is we're going to take that 9 and we distribute it. So we have 9 times 4 plus, my cat wanted to come by and say hi, 9 times b. And that would give us 36, 9 times 4 plus 9b. Easy peasy. Number 6, 7 times n. We distribute that 7 plus 7 times 5. Is going to give us 7n plus 35. Now, for number 7, remember when we distribute that negative, we need to distribute the entire negative 10. So we have negative 10 so we take that 7 and it becomes 7n plus 7 times 5, or 7n plus 35. So, number 7. Now, when we distribute that 10, remember we have to distribute the entire negative 10. So that becomes negative 10 times 8 and negative 10 times 3b. So negative 10 times 8 is negative 80, plus negative 10 times 3b is negative 30b. Distributing that 10 to the 1 and the negative 2x becomes 10 times 1 minus 10 times 2x, or 10 minus 20x. Number 9, we distribute that negative 4. So we have negative 4 times b plus negative 4 times 7. Negative 4 times b is negative 4b. Negative 4 times 7 is negative 28. So that gives us negative 4b minus 28. With number 10, we distribute that negative 8. We get negative 8 times 1 plus negative 8 times 9a. So that gives us negative, like that. Negative 8 times 1 is negative 8. Plus negative 8 times 9a is negative 72a. So moving on, remember now, numbers 11 on, what we need to do is we need to distribute and then combine like terms. So we already did numbers 11 and 12 earlier, so we're going to do number 13. And we want to go take that negative 4. So we have 10 minus 4 times 4b minus 8. So when we distribute, we need to distribute that entire negative 4. So that gives us 10. And then we go negative 4 times 4b. Bring down that minus sign. And then negative 4 times 8. So that gives us 10 minus 16b minus a negative 32, which becomes 10 minus 16b plus 32. Now, the question is, can we combine any of those? And the answer is yes, we can combine these two right here. So that gives us 10 plus 32 is 42 minus 16b. And that's because we added the 10 and the 32 together. Notice that there are no other terms with b in them, so there's nothing that we can do regarding that. We can't just go ahead and make up numbers. So number 14, we're going to distribute that entire 10. So we have 10 times 10r plus 10 times 1 plus 4. 10 times 10r is 100r plus 10 times 1 is 10 plus 4. We can combine the 10 and the 4 and get 100r plus 14. If you're having trouble with number 15, we go negative 6, and we distribute that. So that gives us 5x. Remember, when we distribute the negative 6, we distribute the negative as well. So that gives us negative 6 times negative 2x minus, we bring that minus down right there. That's that negative. And then we have to bring over the negative 6 as well. Negative 6 times 4. So that gives us 5x plus 12x minus a negative 24. So that gives us 17x because we were able to combine the 5x and the 12x. Here, the like term was, it had to do with the variable, not the numbers. And so we then put those together, get 17x plus 24, and that's our answer. Number 16, what we do is we go ahead and take that -3 and distribute it, and that 7 and distribute it. So here what we're going to do is we're going to have two separate terms that we need to distribute. From 16 to 20, we're distributing twice, and then we need to figure out, once we distribute those things twice, how exactly we combine like terms. So this gives us -3 times 6x minus -3 times 7 plus 7 times 1 plus 7 times 9x. So -3 times 6x is -18x. Minus 21, minus a -21, plus 7, plus 63x. So we then rewrite it. And then we look for like terms. So here we have both the kind of regular numbers we can combine, that 21 and that 7, and then we have two variable terms that we can combine, that 63 minus 18. So when we go 63x minus 18x plus 21 plus 7, we can rewrite it in order to just make our lives easier, make everything kind of in a row. 63 minus 18 gives us 45x, and 21 plus 7 gives us 28. And that would be our answer. For number 17, again, what we want to do is we want to go ahead and, distribute both the 9 and the -2. So that gives us -9 times 4, or not -9, just 9 times 4 plus 9 times 8x. My cat is not happy. And then -2, we distribute that. Make sure you distribute the entire -2s. That's -2 times x plus -2 times 4. We then do our multiplication. So we get 36 plus 72x minus 2x plus -8. So that gives us 36, the 72x and the -2x combine to give us 70x. We then have that -8 on the back end. And so what we're going to do is we're going to have 70x, and then 36 minus 8 gives us 20, or 36 minus 8. We need to combine those two. And we get 28, and that's our answer. Same general principle for number 18. We want to divide, or distribute, rather, the 7 and the 2. So that's going to give us 7 times 8. Times 7 times plus 7 times 9n plus 2 times n plus 2 times 5. We then do the multiplication. 7 times 8 is 56. 7 times 9n is 63n. 2 times n is 2n. And 2 times 5 is 2. Or 2 times 5 is 10. So 63 plus 2n is 65n. And then we have plus 56 plus 10. We combine those and we get 65n plus 66. So number 19, if you're having trouble there, we're going to distribute that negative 7, and we're going to distribute that 3. So that gives us negative 7 times 10 plus negative 7 times 5x plus, remember when we're distributing negatives, we distribute the negative as well. So we distribute that 3 as well. 3 times 10x minus 3 times 2. Do our multiplication. Negative 7 times 10 is negative 70. Negative 7 times 5x is negative 35x. 3 times 10 is 30x. 3 times 10x. And negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. So that gives us negative 5x, and we got that by putting together negative 35 plus 30. And then we had a negative 70 minus 6, and that gives us negative 76. And the last one. So remember, if we distribute that negative 8, we distribute the whole negative 8. So we have negative 8 plus 16n. This one I'm kind of jumping through some of the steps. If you need a more broken down one, just go back and watch one of the other ones. Actually, I'll just break this one down. So that gives us negative 8 times 1 minus negative 8 times 2n plus 10 times negative 4 plus 10 times n. So that gives me a negative 8 minus a negative 16n plus a negative 40 plus 10n. Do the multiplication, we get negative 8 plus 16n, or do the simplification, minus 40n plus 10. Rewrite it with everything together. So basically all we're going to do is move that negative 8 to the back to be with its partner, the 10. 16n minus 40n is 24n, and that's a negative plus 2. That'd be your answer. See you guys tomorrow.